Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. It's finally time to start digging into Omega Prime, the newest Transformers HasLab. I'll be honest, I saw all the pictures online, the videos, people having issues with this thing, and I was afraid. I didn't really want to dive into it, but I saw a bunch of fix videos online and I thought, well, at least if mine has an issue, I'll know how to fix it now. So I finally gathered up my courage, opened the box, and I'm very excited. This is really a fantastic toy. I'm sorry it's been plagued with these issues. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But I was really excited. When they first announced this, I've always been a huge fan of Car Robots or 2001 RID, whichever you prefer. And I just always thought they were such fun, out there designs. And to get a beautiful HasLab of Omega Prime or Godfire Convoy, if you prefer, and especially with all these little improvements, like the little guns for Magnus now have a robot mode. That's really cool. They threw in the little Cerebros. There's just so much cool stuff in here. So I was so excited for this, and then to find out it had these QC issues, I was like heartbroken. But I'm happy to say the operation was a success. I think he's going to pull through. So finally today, we're going to take a look at this thing. Now I'm going to break this up. I'm going to do Optimus Prime / Fire Convoy, Super Fire Convoy in one video. Then I'm going to do Magnus in a video. And then I'm going to do a third video of Omega Prime, Godfire Convoy, that combination. And then probably in the last video is when I'll throw in like the stands and the big sword, all the other kind of like little bonus stuff that they throw in. So I'll probably do that in the third video. So if I tried to do it all in one video, it would be like over an hour. And I don't even think I could process a video that big. So we're going to just break this up. But I wanted to at least show off the box here. Love the artwork here on the front of this. And it's so big I can't even keep it all in frame. You can see it says HasLab Omega Prime there at the bottom. Looking fantastic. On this side you got a beautiful picture of Magnus. Over on this side you got the man, Optimus Prime or Fire Convoy. And then I think even on the top here, just a cool picture of, you know, the two of them together, and then Omega Prime here at the top from the transformation sequence. I don't think the bottom has anything. Well, okay, it's just got a picture of the toy. It's very large when you're finally done. And then over here on the back, it just kind of, again, shows Omega Prime, Optimus, and Magnus with blue bolts, which is the name they gave to the little robot from his gun. I think that's such a fun little inclusion. I think that's so cool. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to take a look at Optimus, get him out of the box and everything, and dive in. So here he is, Optimus Prime, or Fire Convoy. He does come packaged in vehicle mode, which is why I'm starting there. That's how they did these. I have to admit, I assumed they'd be packaged in robot mode, but I guess it makes sense. You know, they're very compact and pretty solid in these modes, so for transport, it probably made the most sense. Otherwise, that box would be even larger than it already is. But yeah, he looks good. I mean, rolls very nicely. You have some nice Autobot symbols here on the side, nicely painted. You can see the chrome there for the guns on the side of the Super Mode head. You have the ladder, of course. Now, these pieces do flip out. Nothing is spring-loaded like the original toy. They just kind of manually flip out. And I don't believe the missiles come out at all, as far as I can tell, unless... No, I really don't think they do. I think it's just for effects. But those pieces do flip out. I mean, I'll be honest, that was not really a feature I used very much on the original toy. Oh no, do the missiles come out? Okay, they do. I was wrong. Or maybe they just extend? They might just extend. So they might not come all the way out. They might just extend so you can make it look like they're firing. I don't know. Like I said, honestly, not the selling point of the toy for me, but it's there if that was something you loved from the original. Here on the front, you have the like little front bucket area. These pieces can flip around, so you have the guns here on the front. Now again, they were like spring-loaded. You pressed a button and they flipped around. Not the case, all manual here. But you do have kind of like a little ball joint here, so you can spin these around, and they can all move around. So it swivels here, and then right after the swivel is the ball joint. So you can multi-directional these little things around, which is kind of cool. Of course, you know, this is all on a ratchet. so this can move around. These pieces on the sides still fold down like they did on the original. I feel like the only time you really use that is for the base mode, but you can utilize it in this mode if you prefer. This can also ratchet around down here at this point. And you can see here that there's a little seat. So they included a tiny little Cerebros. If you've seen the show, at one point towards the end, they're fighting over control of Brave Maximus, which at that point I think was the second repaint of Fortress Maximus. And so they are trying to get control of Cerebros and then take it to the city so that he can transform. And they included a little Cerebros here. This looks phenomenal. I think the paint job on the back here looks amazing. It's a standard Titan Master, so it's got all the little articulation points that you would expect. But the paint looks good. The face for the little guy looks good as well. I'll be honest, I would probably buy a Brave Maximus repaint of the Titans Return Fortress Maximus at this point. If they wanted to do it as one of those, like, you know, we'll take the orders on Hasbro Pulse and make however many you guys order kind of a thing. What I call the premium Bandai model. I would go for that. But you can take him, he can sit here in the little seat, which is awesome. I love that so much. Such a silly little goofy detail. Technically, if you move this up, and let me zoom out here, but the bucket can kind of flip down like that, and they're like, you can put him in there too, but I'm like, it's just a giant cavity. Like, you can put anything in there, so anything that will fit. Like, technically, yes. Let me tilt this up. He will sit in there, but it's, you know, it's not like this spot over here, I feel like is specially made for him. This is just, you can toss him in there if you want to, I guess. But I just think that's really cool. I really appreciate that little detail. And I love that he just fits in this little spot here on the back. I think that's so cool. It's so perfectly done. The rest of the features here, really not too much going on. The ladder is the biggest feature in this mode, honestly. Like I said, the wheels roll pretty well. The gun does come separately. It doesn't automatically come in, popped into this section, but it's very easy. You just kind of wedge it in here. So this will come separately in the packaging, and then you just take this, and you can see how it's got kind of like a bar across there, and that just kind of wedges in here pretty simply for storage and an extra wheel. But yeah, I'm happy with this. I think he looks fantastic in the fire engine mode. He has the C001 on the front for Cybertron 001, since he is the Cybertron commander in Car Robots. So I love that they included that detail. And you can see some other kind of silver paint up here on the back of the arms. He's also got it here on the back. So yeah, just all in all, really looks fun. But let's go ahead, let's get into robot mode. So the first thing you're going to want to do is come to the side here, next to the Autobot symbol. Right here, you can kind of see that there's a peg here. This panel is going to unpeg, and it can be a little tight, but I promise it will unpeg. There's two pegs that connect it. There we go. So you can see that unpegs like that. And then we are going to do the same thing over here on this side. And that will kind of separate it into the two components. We're going to take this section and put that off to the side. We'll come back to that later. Once you have this off, this whole section here will also wiggle off like that. So you can see the teeth kind of cut out there. They were hooked onto these sections right here and here. And then once it closes on top, it really keeps it all there. This is going to be the hands for the super mode, but we'll come back to this piece later as well. So here's our main component. If you remember the show at all, this would kind of pop off from the rest. I think, did the original toy, I'm kind of trying to remember if the original toy had a feature where this like spring loaded off. I don't think so, or maybe they made a version of that later on. I might be misremembering, but this is our main component for Optimus Prime / Fire Convoy. So we are first going to come underneath here and remove the gun. Wiggle that right off of there. This you have to kind of like pop this underneath just because there's a little tab, so you have to clear that. And then you can come under here. So there is this weird little silver piece, as you can see right here. If you try to pull this away right away, you can see it's going to hit. So you have to slide this down like this, and I almost forget to do this every single time. So you want to bring it to about there, and then you can bring this, and then this is just going to finish up and close over the wheel. It just gives them that little bit more extra detail, and I'm assuming it's just that when they wanted to close this up, you could see it would hit into the leg, which is why they couldn't leave it there, so they had to kind of swivel it up out of the way. But you can already see we got some really nice kind of metallic blue paint there, a little bit of silver as well, a little yellow. So you just want to make sure that when you're transforming this, you kind of unhook this panel and flip this out of the way, and then make sure you rotate this piece down before you try to pull this big panel out of the way, because it will not end well. Then flip this here. Okay, at this point, you can see that there's a tab here and a tab slot right there. So this is going to fold in and tab in there and there. And if you haven't done so already, close these up as close as possible. Then you're going to grab everything to the right of the two light bar pieces. So grab a hold of this and wiggle it off, and then this will start to fold down. So at this point is where we'll talk about the unfortunateness, is that a word? In any case, the unfortunate part of this toy. So a lot of people are opening this up to find this chest plate here is cracked or, you know, stress marked or whatever. Let me see if I can get this to focus here. Luckily, as you can see, does it want to focus for me? I got lucky and I didn't have any problems. And then I decided, you know, not to force it. So what happens is, and you can kind of see the piece right here. So this piece right here, and you can kind of see part of it there. It's a big dark gray rectangle. And on the inside of this piece, there are very tiny little plastic teeth. And there are better videos out there if you're looking for a fix. This is not a fix video. This is just a review, but just to give you a little background. When the gray piece is supposed to slide up and down this piece, the little teeth are supposed to provide like a little bit of resistance so it's not a sloppy mess. But what's happening is that gray rectangle in there is like the exact size of the space between the two sets of teeth. And because of that, when you try to move it, there's just too much friction. And what it's doing is it's causing either the teeth inside to break or sometimes this whole chest piece to break. And that's what the issue is from. So if you open it up and you sand down the sides of the gray brick, then there'll be a little bit of room to move, and then it won't have to cause stress. So they just didn't like measure. They're off by like a millimeter probably on each side. So when they did their calculations, or whoever engineered this thing, they just, I don't know, they had a brain fart or something, and they didn't think that, yes, it can fit in that space, but it needs a little bit of wiggle room to be able to move and have a little bit of friction, but not be so completely tight in that space that it can't move at all. And that's basically what happened. So I did have to perform surgery. Like I said, there are videos out there. They're easy to find. Just Google it. They're on YouTube everywhere. But yeah, I had to kind of open up the back, take that piece, sand down the sides, and it's not too bad now. So I have faith that it will hopefully stay in good working order for the rest of the time. But anyway, we're going to extend the legs like so. Then we are going to break the legs in half. And then we are going to swivel them like this. Not the thigh, just that. There we go. Then we're going to come around to the back. We are going to pop open these white sections, which can be a little easier said than done sometimes. Pop that open, flip out the foot piece. You can kind of just push this whole gray piece will flip around like that. And then you can see that there's like a little notch right there that'll go on this. So we close that up. And then you want to flip out the little heel like so. So we're going to repeat that process over here. Flip this up, flip this around, close that up, and then flip up the heel. There we go. So the legs are done. So now if we come up here, I'm going to move the camera up. All right, so coming around to this section, you want to move the light bar pieces up And I don't know why, but unfortunately mine is really loose on the one side, and if you kind of look at it wrong, it just wants to come off. Sometimes I just take them off completely and put them back on later, but you want to take this little flap here and lift this up, because there's kind of like two little hooks into the arms, so you can't swing the arms out until you move this flap up. But then you are going to flip this around like this. Then we are going to slide down this section. You can kind of see it's cut out here. So this is going to slide down like that. And then that will allow you to rotate that section around so you can give him his elbows. And then you'll probably have to rotate the fists as well. I don't think you can close them with the fists in the normal orientation. So just something to be cautious about. Flip this down. There we go. Flip that fist. Okay. Now this is the moment of truth. If you go to push this down and you have any kind of, like, it doesn't want to move at all, do not force it, because that's what will cause this to break. Now since I've sanded mine down without too much trouble, I can just kind of slide it down, and that's what's supposed to happen. So if you go to push that down and it's giving you a lot of trouble, do not force it. You're going to want to pop it open and do the fix that I talked about. So at this point, we are going to flip this section down. The head will pop out from back here and very nicely fill this space. Then we can close this back up. You can push this down and it'll kind of, you can see there's a tiny little tab. It'll just tab onto that. You can also take the head, the base of the neck, and it'll actually slide forward. And then just kind of position this how you like. You can move the ears on the side a little bit. But that is, oh, I have to put these stupid light bar pieces back on. Kind of at like a 45. But there we go. There is Optimus Prime, aka Fire Convoy. We'll give him the gun. He looks fantastic. Now, I will admit, and I believe this was a problem with the original toy as well. I say problem, it's not really a problem. He's got hips. The hips don't lie. I mean, they're big. They're a little out of proportion with everything else because they have to be the hips for all the combinations, Super Fire Convoy, God Fire Convoy, all that stuff. So they do have to be a little big. So in this mode, they do look a little silly. But still, he looks phenomenal. I've always loved this design. I've really, really enjoyed the design, the anime-ish quality to it. I just think it looks so good. I mean, look at that head sculpt. Let me pop this up here. I just really, really like it. I mean, you have the nice gold there for the eyes, the little bit of silver paint up here in the crest and for the face. Like I said, you can move, if you like the ears a little bit more forward, you know, you can do that. If you like them back a little bit, if you kind of just want them straight up, whatever you prefer. I mean, you have some options there. Head's on a pretty nice ball joint, so you can look down slightly, look up, but you can certainly side to side, no problem. You can even kind of tilt a little side to side. You can swivel the arms here like this. You have out to the side, well, you can kind of go up with that joint, but you also have out to the side here with this ratchet. So you have a nice range of motion there. You have a swivel here right above the elbow. You have the elbow bend. You saw that the wrists can swivel, but they don't open or close or anything like that. But you can hold that gun, no problem. You do have a waist swivel, but you do have this piece here, so you'd have to kind of like bring this back. You can unhook that a little bit if you want to get a little bit more range of motion out of the hips there, and then just push that back in. Or I should say that's the waist swivel. The hips, they are very tight ratchets. Again, because of all the heavy lifting that they're going to have to do later on. But you also have a thigh swivel here. You have another swivel down here at the, like right above the knee. You have nice knee ratchet. You have ankle tilt. You have a good range of motion there. You can kind of do that a little bit front to back, but mostly side to side. And the heels you can swivel around a little bit. So yeah, he looks good. I'm happy to have him. I'm very happy that he's fixed and I don't have to worry about him breaking anymore, because that was honestly terrifying. I was so excited. And then the thought of opening this up, I was afraid I was going to open it and it was already going to be broken. So I was happy with that. When I did open it up, some of the little teeth inside were already bent a little bit. And I was like, it's a good thing that I just opened it because it would have only gotten worse. I didn't, as soon as I felt like I tried it the first time out of the box, as soon as I felt that resistance, I was like, nope, stop, open it up, don't do it. So it's a shame. You shouldn't have to, especially for a toy this expensive. You should not have to fix it yourself. Hasbro, if you're listening, you're not, but you should be. But at least it's something that you can do yourself so that you don't break it the first time you use it and you can still enjoy this toy that you paid this much for. So, but yeah, he looks good. I really like it. I think the articulation's good. The aesthetic's good. I'm really happy. But there's more we can do. Let's go ahead and form the base mode out of all the trailer bits that we didn't use. Alright, so we have our two pieces of the trailer here. Now, technically, if you wanted, like, I guess for storage or something, if you really like the basic mode, you could reattach these. It would be very easy to do, and then you could just have this as one solid piece. Just thought I'd mention that. But basically, what you're going to do is take this section, and this will kind of lift up, and then they'll very easily separate. And these are going to be the two fists. Now, technically, if we bring Optimus back in here, I believe there was at least one time on the show where if I open these all up... Is this the right hand? It's probably not. No, of course it's not. So we'll try the other one. I think there was a time on the show where he pulled this out just to be like a giant one fist kind of a thing, and then he like fired it. So you could technically, if you wanted to, just pop the one hand on there. And then I think, like I said on the show, he kind of... you know, closed it up and then fired this off, and so you could simulate that. I'd have to open this again, open all this, and all it does is there are two pegs right there and two tab slots right there, so you just peg it on very simply. But you could, if I left it like this and then close this back up, you know, kind of simulate that he fired this at somebody. So that's something you could do. Just wanted to point that out. Also, you're going to want to come here and you're going to flip these sections out, and then that will allow you to remove the shoulders for the super mode. So you can see that there's a tab slot right there, and there's these tabs on the side, and then you slide them on there, and then this little nub right there will slide into the bottom one here. But you can also see this little cutout right here that kind of looks like a Super Mario warp pipe. That is clipping onto this part on the foot, so that's how it stays so secure, which is really nice. And then you're going to lift this section up. You can see that there were two big tabs that were tabbed in under here, and then you're going to remove this base, and it can be a little difficult sometimes. You want to really get a hold of it. Oh, apparently that can come off. That's good to know. But there you go. So there are these four pegs right here, and they are pegging in right here, here, and here. So apparently, I did not know this, but I guess that's good to know if you didn't want that weight on there in the super mode. But in any case, so we'll put this section off to the side for a moment. We'll come back. What else you can do, I think, again, maybe one time in the show, not very often, but you can pop these apart, and you can see you have like these missile salvos here. So what you do is you flip out the foot for the super mode, which can be a little easier said than done, and then you flip under the wheel section here, and then this will peg into the shoulder. So you can see the connector right there, and you have the peg here on the shoulder, and so that just pops on there. Let me lift this up. So you can give him these cool missile pods, which are really his super mode feet. So we'll pop that, and then there we go. So you can definitely utilize that as well. So you could have the giant fist hand, you could have this going on, the gun. He's got lots of options in terms of accessories like that, which I think is a lot of fun. And again, paint on these looks great. The metallic blue is really sharp, the gunmetal gray, all that looks great. So really happy that they included this feature here. Alright, so taking all of the trailer components and transforming them into the base is relatively simple. You're going to take the two legs, you're going to want to make sure that the wheels are folded in, and if you had these down, like for the missile pods for the shoulders, all you do is push the foot up like that. Then you're going to connect these back together, like so. You're going to take this section, you are going to flip this part out from underneath, and then you kind of want to like just flip it up a tiny bit so that it's kind of close to the head, really just covering it. And then you are going to reconnect this like so, kind of like you're transforming it back into vehicle mode. So reconnect those. And this piece is supposed to kind of go in between the feet when you're reconnecting it, just so you know if you're having any trouble with it. And then this will come back and clip onto those, and then this will just kind of be like this. At this point, we're going to flip this all the way up on that super tight ratchet. And then we're going to flip those parts out that I talked about from earlier. Move this up. I probably am going to have to move the camera up just because this is so incredibly tall, but this is, and then this part's going to flip forward and flip out these pieces on the side again. So there we go. So that's kind of the base for the base. And then we're going to take the shoulder pads and kind of put them back like this. We're going to take the hand pieces. So these will have the gun face forward like this. You want the long peg here to be in the bottom all the way to the part that would face the inside of the base. It's not the best description, but we're going to take the hand, we're going to flip this out, we're going to use that joint to kind of bring this down ever so slightly, and then flip this up. And then this is going to, right there, peg into the top of the shoulder. And the way to know what shoulder to use, you want the Autobot symbol to be the correct orientation. And then this peg here is going to peg in right there. So you're just going to drop this in like so. And there's one side. So then we're going to come back over to this side and unhook these. Okay, so this will go like this. This will rotate like this. Bring this down a little bit. This will flip up and then peg in the shoulder. And then drop this in like so. And there is the base mode. So it's not the best. It's fine. I think it's almost exactly the same as the original toy, you know, which I get. There's only so much they can do with it, but it's cool, you know, if you just want something for display so that way you don't have to have a big hunking piece of a trailer or fire truck just hanging off to the side. You could also kind of bring Cerebros back in here and he can pretend like he's helping out, running the base or something like that. So, yeah, it's, you know, very basic. Like I said, I think it's almost exactly the same as the original, maybe just a little bit more articulation. But it kind of has the two little guns. You can kind of pretend that the fists are also guns. You have these two guns here. You have the guns up at the top that are out of frame right now. But yeah, that's how you do the little base mode. It's not too bad. So one other thing I should have mentioned before now, but we'll just take care of it now. If you open up what will eventually be the chest of the super mode, right here, there is this weird little green brick or rectangle. And I assume it's supposed to be like the Matrix. It's very difficult to get out of here, if I'm being honest. There we go. So I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be a Matrix. I don't remember this from the show at all, but you have a really nice kind of silver painted area that you can pop it into. So that's like the little cavity for the super mode. And then for this mode, they want you to come around to the back here, and there's a little spot you can see there. They want you to jam it in here, which I just think is so weird. But that's, and I don't even know if you can see it in there. They want you to put it in there and then close it back up. So like if it is the Matrix, it's in his back. I don't know. And then when you transform him back to super mode, you're supposed to put it back in there. I'll probably put it back in there and leave it in there for the rest of the time, because to me it's a weird little thing, but it's there. I wanted to mention it. It's included. I don't know what it is. It's a little green rectangle. And now the time you've all been waiting for. Let's get to Super Fire Convoy. So I've gone ahead and removed his gun. We're going to come here to the little light bar pieces and just push them all the way down like so. If you have the head slid forward, you're going to want to slide that back. Then you're going to open up this back section and rotate the head all the way back in there and close it up. Then we're going to pop this section off of here. We are going to I like to just kind of straighten the arms all the way down for now. It's not really that important. And we'll straighten out the legs. You want to leave the feet out, but you're going to close up the heels. Like that. Then, and this is actually pretty cool. So you're going to slide. If you have this connected, you want to open this up like that. You're going to slide this piece up on our newly able to do so piece. You do not want to go all the way up. You want to go to about there. This piece here is going to bend in like this. Then this is going to come in, and if you're not sure like what, you can bring this in all the way, and then you're going to press this all the way against the body. And it can be a little tight. I sometimes have difficulty with this. Let me get the arms out of the way. There we go. Okay, so that is clipped all the way in, and then push this down. So basically that piece comes in because you need the height for Superfire Convoy, but they have this piece come in and be that extra like solid piece so that it's not just hanging up there with a bunch of more weight on it. Like it's a support piece, which I think is really cool. So then you can close this back up. I just thought that was so neat the way that worked. Okay, so then we can also pull the arms out. So basically, if you can see here where the gray part is, and I'm probably not right there, there's a little slide right here. So you're going to pull so that the slide puts these back like that, and that will kind of open up this section here, which is going to be a clip for later on. But I think that's everything you need to do to get him ready for the super mode. Then we're going to bring in our components again. So we have the two pieces that we had used on the shoulders. You want to leave the foot out like this. This is going to lift up this section inside. Is going to be a new shin guard. And then if you haven't already, you want to make sure that the wheels are rotated in. So flip this out. So this is actually kind of neat. Now I tend to have difficulty getting the feet in here, but you can see there's a clip and then there's a tiny little peg there, and that's for this little spot right here. So you kind of want to clip the feet in. There we go. That wasn't too bad. And then you can see that there's a tab right there and a little spot. So this is going to peg in right there. And then the nice thing is this has ankle tilt independent of how the feet connect. So the feet connect, and then the rest of this has ankle tilt, which I think is great. That way it doesn't get in the way of the connection at all. Very, very smart. So then this is going to clip in again. I find it's easier if you kind of tilt it in and then kind of pop that side in first. There we go. And then that will peg in there. So now we have our feet done, and we can engage the ankle tilt. So we're going to want to bring this up here. So next up we have the hand pieces, and I already kind of showed this off earlier, but you're going to connect these two spots here onto the side of the arm, and we'll pop this out a little bit just to give us room. So pop that on. This comes up, clips in, this panel folds in. Then you just kind of situate the hands, and we can bend the elbows a little bit. So once again, we are going to connect this on here, bring this up, out of the way, up, clip in, and it's really intuitive how you just kind of just form a box around the old hands, really. So there we go. Those are our hands now. The shoulder pads, and I've tried to tell, I really don't think it matters which way you do it. So maybe I'll just have the Autobot symbol kind of facing forward, but as far as I can tell, like there's no extra paint on either side, so I don't really think it matters, but you're going to lift these up. You're going to use the back one to pop onto this. So like that, and then you're just going to bring these down. You can see that there's a little spot right there, and there's the tiniest little tab. So you're just going to bring that in, and they'll just lightly tab onto the sides. So once again, using the farthest back one to connect to that tab, and then pop that on there like so. So you can see we're pretty much almost done at this point. Position this up. Now we're going to take the largest piece, and so the neck is a little weird, if I'm being honest. So they have this piece here, and they wanted this to kind of go forward, so that way when it's like this, it would kind of hide it in the vehicle mode. So now you want that piece to sit back down, and then you kind of straighten out. And it can, because there's a hole there from where the headpiece was. So basically, there are 2 large tab slots under here, and that's for these tab slots, or these large tabs right here. There's also a large tab right here. So if you're looking at that, you can see the 3 tabs, and that's supposed to go here, here, and here. And then also you have these little tabs which kind of fit in these little spots here on the side. And so I can kind of use that as a nice guide when I'm doing this. So I want to move the shoulders out of the way, but I can kind of bring like this right here into this little, and of course the light's not assisting me because these shoulder pads, the little notch right there. So I kind of bring this down, line up that notch like so, and then that can kind of help me peg the rest of this in, bring this down, that'll clip in, and then it's just a matter of using this ratchet to bring that all the way down, and then I have to push the head back, and then you can move this around, and there we have Super Fire Convoy, looking absolutely fantastic. I really like how this turned out. It really looks good. And like, this still doesn't even touch the ground, which the old one you had to, I think, bend it up like this to get it to work, and that it's just not an issue this time, which is really nice. If you want, you can kind of bring this to the side. I know some people like that look where he's kind of got that thing off to the side like that. You can also, if you have this out to the side and you want to bring this ratchet all the way around, because this will also ratchet around, you can bring this like this and give him a shoulder cannon and kind of do that pose where he kind of brought his hands up like he was grabbing a hold of this to steady it. And you can kind of do something like that, have the guns pop out on the front, something like that, however you want to pose it. But you can do the shoulder cannon. It's just really cool. I really like this a lot. Once you get past the one large problem and you can get that sorted, and then it just unlocks so much fun possibility. It's just a shame that, you know, that's going to forever taint this, like when people think about this toy. And it's such a good toy otherwise. Like, it really is. I mean, and I've only seen the third of it so far. I mean, I've only done Optimus, Super Optimus, Fire Convoy, Super Fire Convoy, whatever you want to call them. And I'm already so impressed with just this. And I haven't even gotten to Magnus or the combined mode. So, I mean, this is already amazing. Like I said, if you can fake the fix, you really unlock the full potential of the toy. And it's a really fun toy. It looks great. The articulation's great. I didn't really talk about articulation in this mode because, I mean, you have the head. You have a decent bit of movement here on the head, side to side. Really, I would say even more than the smaller mode head. And I mean, there's so much chrome and the yellow eyes, metallic paint, all that silver. It just looks great. I mean, otherwise the articulation's the same because it's using the same core body. But yeah, this is great. Like I said, it's just a shame that you have to do that fix. But once you do, it's fantastic. Oh, and I did mention there's somewhere you can store this gun. There are these little peg holes on the side of the gun, and there's a little peg here. So you can drop it like that. It's perfect. There we go. And of course, use the opportunity for one of the stupid light bars. Both of the light bars. That's my biggest complaint, honestly. Well, the biggest complaint is the obvious complaint. But the biggest complaint of normal things is that those light bars just do not stay on. They just don't. It's not a big deal because they just peg on. You can just pop it back on, but there's like no resistance. They just, you nudge them at all, they just fall right off. Again, grand scheme of things, not a huge problem, just annoying. But yeah, he looks good. He really does. I'm really happy with this. Like I said, this has always been a favorite design of mine. I loved the kind of anime-ish style and just a lot of fun. So, like I said, this is only the beginning. We're going to have more videos taking a look at Magnus, the combination, the extra bits. So stay tuned for all that. But I just already, if the toy was just this in some universe where this was a commander class and this was sold on its own, I would be happy with just this, honestly, because this is so good. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.